On August 6, 2025, a quiet tremor shook the scientific community. The James Webb Space Telescope, designed to explore the universe's origins, entered emergency override mode. This was not due to a distant supernova or collapsing black hole, but rather something much closer, stranger, and profoundly unsettling, a comet, or something posing as one. The object was named 3I Atlas. Initially, it appeared to be another drifting interstellar object, silent and harmless. However, as Webb's instruments engaged, the findings revealed a shocking reality. What they encountered was not merely unusual but truly impossible. The first oddity was the coma, the gas cloud encircling the nucleus. 6 astronomical units from the Sun, a comet should be frozen solid in deep space. Instead, 3I Atlas was thriving, emitting intense outgassing. Unexpectedly, the coma was saturated with carbon dioxide, 8 times more prevalent than water. This ratio was unprecedented, surpassing even the oddly unique interstellar object Borisov, which barely achieved half that. This pattern hinted at something crafted, something designed to release this specific gas at a distance where nature cannot. Even more puzzling, the coma contained virtually no dust, no debris, no frozen fragments, only smooth, controlled emissions, suggesting fine-tuning. Next came the metals. Webb and ground observatories detected strong nickel signals, bright and unmistakable, across ultraviolet and near-infrared wavelengths. Not traces, massive amounts. Billions of tons silently vented into space. Astonishingly, its counterpart element, iron, was nowhere to be found. Not diminished, not faint, completely absent. For centuries, scientists have noted that nickel and iron appear together in comets and meteorites. They originate from the same stars and are forged in identical explosions. Their ratio is universal, defined by physics. However, 3I Atlas defied this rule with an extreme nickel-to-iron ratio exceeding 40:1. Separating nickel from iron in laboratories requires energy, machinery, and intent. Yet, here was an 11-kilometer-wide object doing so effortlessly, or perhaps, not effortlessly at all. Maybe it was intentional. The final revelation that shattered normality arose from its movement. Comets typically accelerate when their frozen gases sublimate near the Sun, producing jets that propel them forward. But 3I Atlas was too far out, too cold for this behavior. Regardless, it accelerated. In just 3 days, its speed increased by 0.12 meters per second squared. For an object resembling a city, this was colossal, akin to cruising ships gaining speed in calm waters without engines. Even more unsettling, the acceleration was not steady. It occurred in bursts, irregular microjumps, rising and falling in a strict rhythm. Every 7.2 hours, the object brightened suddenly, predictably, reminiscent of a rotating lighthouse. Natural bodies tend to tumble chaotically, yet this exhibited a mechanical, metronomic pattern. Some theorized a reflective structure, a sail-like frame capturing sunlight or a flat rotating platform. However, none of these explanations accounted for all the evidence. The cycle remained consistent, unwavering, regardless of surrounding conditions. It was fixed in position. The brightness was not merely a random reflection, it was a pulsation. A signal. Then emerged the most unsettling notion, a possibility no one wished to acknowledge. What if 3I Atlas was not a natural phenomenon? What if it was engineered? Not a mere rock, nor a fragment of ice, but machinery, perhaps a probe, a remnant, a mechanism older than humanity, still operational, still responding, perhaps still aware. This was a comet venting metallic nickel without iron, accelerating in frigid space, and pulsing rhythmically. Yet, here it was, fulfilling all three. The Webb override wasn't merely a technical decision, it was quiet panic. A realization that this was anything but normal, potentially marking the first time humanity confronted alien machinery. If the distinction between natural and artificial blurred, perhaps that was the ultimate warning. As scientists sifted through the overwhelming data, another alarming pattern surfaced. Hidden within the object's thermal radiance was a faint but unmistakable rhythm. A frequency pulse, too consistent to be random noise, too subtle to be a beacon. When converted into sound, it revealed a mathematical cadence. Not music, not language, but prime intervals, Fibonacci ratios, and harmonic echoes of patterns found in DNA, crystals, and ancient temple geometry. It wasn't broadcasting through space, yet it stood visible for anyone close enough to perceive, a breadcrumb, a fingerprint, a whisper of design laid bare. Then, Earth began to respond. Geophysicists in Antarctica, Argentina, and Western Australia recorded ultra-low frequency pulses in the planet's magnetic field. Not random or chaotic, but perfectly synchronized with the 7.2-hour rhythm of 3I Atlas. These signals weren't from above but from within. By then, it was no longer merely a comet or anomaly. It became a reflection, echoing our fears, our history, our myths. In ancient times, cultures narrated tales of metals falling from the sky, of star-iron daggers, of omens borne on heavenly flames. Archaeologists still ponder blades entombed with pharaohs, which possess the same nickel-heavy. Something beneath the Earth's surface had started to awaken. Not with chaos or violence but with rhythm. Instruments worldwide began detecting faint, low pulses resonating through the planet's core, reminiscent of a tuning fork vibrating with a long-forgotten melody. These patterns were not random, they were steady, precise, and unnervingly synchronized with an incoming object traveling through the solar system. Scientists began grasping the significance. The Earth's tectonic movements, magnetic fields, even its biological reactions seemed to align with something hovering above. However, this was not the most disturbing aspect. The true fear stemmed from the implication that this resonance was not a new occurrence. The Earth had experienced this frequency long ago. Something dormant had suddenly awakened. When astronomers charted the object's path, they observed its behavior didn't resemble a comet at all. 3I Atlas was not merely influenced by gravity. Its trajectory displayed navigational patterns, deliberately avoiding planets and moons with astonishing precision, as if following an unseen flight plan. Unlike natural comets, which wobble and scatter chaotically under gravitational influence, this one moved purposefully. When its data was compared to models designed for spacecraft navigation, the results aligned with engineered flight paths over 90% of the time. Projecting its route forward indicated it would intersect a narrow corridor just beyond Saturn, a region some theorists speculate could be a gravitational null zone, perhaps a gateway into interstellar space. If this were accurate, then 3I Atlas was not merely passing through. It was departing, driven by a purpose. Every aspect, the timing, acceleration, and alignment, suggested intent rather than chance. Yet, as this realization took hold, something even stranger occurred. The object vanished. At 2.5 astronomical units from the Sun, its emissions suddenly ceased. The nickel spectral lines disappeared. The outflow of carbon dioxide fell silent. The rhythmic pulses that once acted as a beacon faded into nothingness. Within 11 hours, the object completely stopped emitting. Webb, Gemini, Subaru, and the Very Large Telescope all verified this fact. 3I Atlas had turned itself off. It wasn't the distance that rendered it invisible, but a choice. Had it been transmitting or testing, then the abrupt silence indicated something much more unsettling. It had found what it sought. The shutdown was not the conclusion of an observation. It was the finalization of a task, like a machine powering down after completing its last function. However, the mystery deepened when its trajectory altered. Initially, its path suggested it would slingshot around the Sun and disappear into deep space forever. Yet, updated models revealed a subtle but intentional change. Rather than exiting the solar system, it angled back toward the inner planets. Its new path intersected a region between Earth and Venus, an oddly stable area of space where satellites had recently detected mysterious signal interference. Initially, NASA dismissed the adjustment as an error. However, when radar stations in the US, China, and Europe all corroborated the change, the truth became undeniable. No natural object executes a maneuver with such precision. 3I Atlas hadn't left. It had chosen to remain. As the world attempted to track the vanished object, a team at MIT began scrutinizing the chemical data it had emitted prior to its silence. They were not searching for elements, they were investigating structure. What they uncovered was alarming. When plotted over time, the emissions of nickel and carbon dioxide revealed a geometric helix, twisting structures embedded within the output. It bore a peculiar resemblance to primitive RNA strands, not a living code, rather a molecular pattern, a framework. To the biologists examining it, the implication was distressing. The object had not merely been expelling gas. It had been emitting a kind of template, a chemical seed, akin to instructions awaiting the proper environment. Then, radar experiments aimed at tracking it produced a further unsettling anomaly. Instead of bouncing back signals from the object's last known position, echoes emanated from the far side of the Moon. Initially, scientists suspected surface interference as the cause of the irregularities. Yet repeated attempts yielded the same results, early signal returns displaying distortions resembling the rhythmic pulses 3I Atlas had emitted weeks prior. When archives from 2017, during the passage of the interstellar object Oumuamua, were examined, faint patterns matching those coordinates emerged. The Moon had echoed back then too, indicating this was not the first time the system had responded. Something buried beneath the lunar crust had been lying dormant, awaiting reactivation by these objects' passage. 2 weeks following its abrupt blackout, Webb resumed scanning deep space. Unexpectedly, new data revealed an anomaly. Across multiple fields, faint rhythmic pulses were detected in the interstellar medium, not originating from stars or galaxies, but from the void between them. When synchronized, these pulses formed repeating sequences, 7 bursts, silence, followed by 7 more. This is the unsettling truth we now confront. 3I Atlas was not a comet or a random visitor. It was a machine executing a sequence. A program adjusting gravity, echoing from the Moon, and stirring electromagnetic tremors throughout the Earth itself. It did not arrive to communicate with us. It came to reactivate something ancient, testing a system beyond our control.